went from working for the city of Baton Rouge as a senior GIS analyst. That was just my job title. I didn't feel very senior. I got a position with a engineering consulting firm that's headquartered in Baton Rouge as a geospatial analyst. They had brought me in because of my experience working at the city of Baton Rouge with web GIS applications. They were looking to expand that as part of their offerings for internal and external clients. I happened to make a good impression with a couple of project managers, and in September of 2017, I forget exactly when Hurricane Maria passed over Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, but I got a phone call a couple days after that from one of those project managers. John, we need you in Puerto Rico to help us do some GIS. We don't know exactly what you're going to be doing, but we know we're going to need you. I was on a plane a couple days later, and for most of 2018, I was living in Puerto Rico, getting to come home every few weeks, by having a blast. Anyways, but my job was important.
Okay, wait. Sorry to interrupt. That is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, not the disaster, but I mean that you were able to go be part of that.
Yep, exactly. It was awesome. I had a very good time, but we did have an important job. Our company was contracted with the government of Puerto Rico. No, it's not a state, but that's how it was referred to. We were charged with developing preliminary grant requests to the federal government to get money for the Puerto Rico Department of Education. To do that, they needed to have preliminary damage assessments on they had almost 1,200 public school sites at the time. Luckily, they had a very good GIS data set or table that had the coordinates of where those schools were. If they didn't, it would have been a mess trying to do that. But that was where I really realized that it wasn't just enough for me to be good at GIS. I had to have a customer service attitude when working with anybody, whether it was an engineer or a person that worked for our client. I had to be able to work with them, explain them limitations about what we were doing, how long things would take. I couldn't just be a technology person. So we had to do damage assessments in all of the schools. I was not personally going out and doing that, but I used the GIS tools that we had to stand up a database, to configure a mobile application, configure it with all of the questions that needed to be answered. How badly is this damage? What are the different types of damage that are at the school? We need photos of the damage, that sort of thing. This was in late September, early October 2017, and we needed to have this done by the end of November 2017. That's not a lot of time. When I got there, people were going out in the field. We were working with the Army Corps of Engineers. They were using pen and paper, and they were using their phones, and they did not have cell phone service across the island, and it was just a lot. There are a lot of complications and barriers to getting this done quickly. The solution that I was able to provide as a GIS analyst was, here's a mobile application. It works in an offline environment. I had to know how to configure it to work offline. You take it out in the field, you collect all of your information on this mobile application, you come back here, you're able to pass the data to the database over Wi-Fi, and then the public assistants developing these initial grants are able to use these data to develop the amount of the cost that it's going to take to either fix these schools, get them running, anything like that. On top of that, we had to get information back to those schools because they needed to know what the assessment was of their schools. I worked with one of our web developers at the company who was in the same department I was. And this is, again, where you need to know a little bit more than just GIS. I said, we need to create a web page, very simple, where people can access this information. It was not password protected. All you had to do was what's called a URL query. Type in a URL, question mark, type in that school's code, and you got a very simple HTML web page, school name, damage, maybe some photos, something like that. later in November 2017, after we'd done all the school assessments, just in the nick of time for the client, I was with some colleagues. I was outside of San Juan, the capital of Puerto Rico, up in the mountains someplace. We were at a school doing a site visit. The principal came out. She was talking to us. She happened to show us some paperwork that she had. And one of those pieces of paper was a printed out version of that web page. And I was just floored. I don't know if I was floored or what, but it just made me feel so good that somebody like that had that, and that I had helped be a part of that, because she said how useful it was to have that information.
And I can imagine, like, knowing that your work really did help some people.
Yep, it really did. I happen to have a colleague at the company that I work for now who I work with in Puerto Rico. She worked for FEMA. We were doing damage assessments at the state-owned parks on the island, and it was the same thing. Damage assessment, develop grant funding requests for that. She told me how much money that they were able to generate, and that they were one of the first. That was one of the first things they were able to get money for, was for public parks repairs and mitigation work. It was tens of millions of dollars.
Wow.
That my work had helped get there. So, but like I said, being a GIS analyst, being a GIS manager, whatever it is, you have to know more than just the technology you're working with. For me, I have people from across my company come and ask, John, can we put this on a map? Can we put that on a map? And the answer is always yes, of course. If it happens someplace and everything happens someplace, then it can go on a map and we can work with those data. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard. But I also have to be familiar with data sources, whether it's data from the Census Bureau, National Hurricane Center to show where hurricanes are happening. Whatever it is, I have to know just a little bit about a lot of things, and then just be good at explaining how to use those things and create those tools and apps for people. On top of that, there are a lot of GIS professionals who also want people to understand the discipline better. That just like companies have IT managers, finance managers, HR managers, if you're using geographic information systems, you have to have people who are experienced. It's good to have GIS classes, but when you come out of college, you're not always going to be prepared to jump into making your clients happy with a tool like GIS if you don't exactly understand how to use it, where to get data, how to interact and network with people who also use GIS that can help you deliver a better product. So for me, being a part of a professional organization and being involved with that, attending conferences, giving presentations, getting to know vendors has been it turned out to be really crucial for me being successful where I am. So now I'm sit on the board of a professional GIS organization. I'm a certified GIS professional through an institute called the Geographic Information Systems Certification Institute, GISCI. I should know that better off the top of my head. But being successful in my career, I don't necessarily know where I'm going to be in 5 years, because 5 years ago, I would not have said that I was going to be working for a different company than the one I was working for, or that I could even be a GIS manager in 5 years. But it helps me make better decisions about what I want to do with my career when it comes time to make those decisions. And it just makes it easier for me to explain my profession to people who aren't GIS professionals, but who I know need what GIS offers and what somebody with my background and skills can do to make them successful in whatever they're doing, whether it's analyzing election results or doing damage assessments in Puerto Rico. GIS covers it all and does everything you need it to do and more.
And I think you brought up a couple of good points on some topics that I don't think can be emphasized enough. Mm-hmm. And the one is like the human networking, because you never know, like those people you go to those conferences, it is a lot smaller the world than we realize. Mm-hmm. And you might see them the next week, 3 months from now, 5 years from now. Oh, yep. Hey, John, remember me from blah, blah, blah? And
yes.
Next thing you know, y'all are rehashing stuff and you've got a job tip, or you've got someone to collaborate on a complicated project with you.
Yep, exactly. And so being friendly with everybody you meet, even though not everybody gets along, and that's okay, but you can still be friendly with somebody and you can recognize what skills they have, not because you need to use them or because they're going to use you, but because you can help each other. I have colleagues with companies that are competitors with my company, but we're both GIS people, and so we help each other out. And I guess what you just said, the networking, that's a business component. There's a marketing component. You have to be able to sell what you do. You have to understand the business implications of what you do as you advance in your career. And even if you aren't a full-time GIS person, even if you use GIS a little bit, you may find yourself in a position where you have the ear of a stakeholder, of a decision maker, your company, where you're able to get a tool like geographic information systems in front of them, just give them a taste of what it can do, and then they will ask for more. It happens all of the time for me. Nobody asked for a web mapping application, but it took me 5 minutes to put one together, and now they're asking for more, and now they're wanting to build a client for these sorts of things. So yeah, it's good when you come out of college to have those foundational technical skills, and then you just decide what you want to do with it. And just pair it with any discipline in the world. I challenge anyone to stump me in saying that there's not an application for GIS and some other discipline and profession.
And the marketing yourself, you kind of covered that also earlier. When so if you're going to conferences, if you're getting part of professional societies, you're going to hear people talk about different things. You're going to hear people present your ideas that you have also,
yes,
but present them in a more understandable way, a friendlier way. And you can just kind of pick up tips there, or in meetings in your professional society, same sort of thing. And you get to know people and they'll be like, oh, hey, give you tips on if you talk this way, make more eye contact, this, that, the other,
yep,
you'll come across a lot friendlier, nicer, more receptive.
Yep. No, that's absolutely a good point, is understanding how other people perceive what you do, if they're not in your profession, but how other people in your profession try and change the perceptions of those people. I mean, again, you're not trying to fool anybody or pull a fast one on them, but yeah, you need to. I'm doing a bad job having to pause and think about it, but no, you need to be able to approach people where they're at, because they're not always going to come to you. So it's important to understand what people's needs and thoughts are, not because you're trying to push yourself or hassle them or anything like that, but you can come to them and you can say, can you take a few minutes to think about things if we did something this way and how it might make your life better? Like, I'm here for you. I'm here to help you.
That goes back to that old adage about a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, if you got the little map or whatever, instead of using all this technical jargon, look, here's all your information, and see how easy it is to find what you want.
Absolutely. And big picture, everybody around the world is using GIS, intentionally or not, voluntarily or not. If you've got a phone and you have location services turned on your phone, there's a company that's tracking you. They know where you're at. People use marketing to say, well, we had this many cell phones pass by here, and you may be walking around a city and you get a ping from an app on your phone, and it may be an offer for sale at a business that's nearby. I don't want you to think like, oh, big brother staring at you, but the data are out there. Same thing. If you are looking for a house to buy, where are you going to go? You're going to go to one of those real estate apps, and you're going to type in a zip code or draw an area. You may want to see what else is around there, what the schools are like around there, where there's parks, where the traffic is, where is their business, anything like that. So Google Maps, if you go anywhere, or Bing Maps if you're into that, if you go anywhere, you're using GIS. So that's just why it's important. It matters to our life. It's probably one of the most not pervasive. I'm not sure what the right word is.
That might be the right word.
Yeah, but yeah, it pervades our lives, and whether we like it or not, we're using GIS.
It's almost omnipresent.
Yeah, exactly. Omnipresent. GIS is in our lives, just like all the social media apps, email, the news. It's all in our lives, and GIS is with us probably from cradle to grave.